Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Tech Talk, brought to you by Next Gen Automation and Innovate Digital Solutions. I'm your host, Rob Capello. Again, I'm joined by IT Director Kendall Preeb. Kendall, thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having me again.
Excited?
I'm super excited about this topic.
That's awesome. You're excited about data. Wait, is it data or data? Should we say data? It was so funny. I was reading the notes. I'm like, do I say data or data? What should we say?
I guess it depends on if you're in England or in Canada. I say data.
Data. I do the same. Let's go with data. So today we are talking about data because it really is sort of the new currency. Like I think, I always say in marketing, we say, data is king or queen,
Yes.
and even more so today than ever, right?
And in IT, we say data is money. So it's kind of the same thing. Yep.
Yeah, interesting. So, and when we say that data equals money, like we're talking about how safe is the data that you have, right? And the real cost is probably just doing nothing. Like that's not an option. You can't stick your head in the sand. So we're going to tackle all this today. So I want to chat about, let's start off is, what happens when, I assume a lot of us are in this boat, when we don't have a proper backup plan, because I assume that you probably see that a lot when you go into businesses.
Yeah. You imagine walking into the office tomorrow and all your data is gone. Like there's nothing on the servers. There's your documents are empty. What's your plan? What do you do? That's kind of what we're kind of talking about here. Where is your data right now? Where do you store it? Because there's a lot of options, right? There's cloud providers all over the place that say store your information here. Yeah. But then what do you do to make sure that data is safe wherever it's stored?
Mm-hmm. So how, I'm sure that you've walked into a lot of businesses, you guys, where they don't have a proper backup and they've had to learn the hard way.
Yes.
Can you talk a little bit about what that's looked like in those situations?
The biggest thing that I find we walk into is people assume or make assumptions that their data is safe. So they say they're using OneDrive or Google Drive or wherever, pick your cloud provider. And they make the assumption that provider is storing my data and they're making sure that it's backed up. They're making sure that it's safe. And that is a false assumption. And unfortunately, these cloud providers are marketing it that way. They're marketing it as a backup when in fact it's not.
Interesting.
And in fact, Microsoft's terms of service actually point that out. They say, we're not liable for the information that's stored in our services, and use it at your own risk. No liability, and as is where is kind of thing.
So any of our data that's backed up on the cloud, or not backed up, that's on the cloud is not backed up? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Interesting.
So you picture it as a mirror. Whatever I do here on this computer gets stored in the cloud. It's synchronized. So what happens here happens there. The same thing happens if you delete a file. It's deleted here and it's deleted there. These services were originally made to synchronize computers. So the data that I see here in my office, I can now access at home. Or I can share this with a colleague. So we're both working at the same documents. But that data is not backed up. They do have, so if something's deleted, they do have a threshold, and usually it's about 30 days. If you catch it within that time frame, you can bring it back, kind of like pulling it out of your trash bin.
I was going to say, I hate when I go to my emails, I'm like, where's that email? And it's gone. Because it holds it for 30 days, unless you change the setting.
Exactly.
And then, interesting.
Now, what we do say is that you do have, that data that is in the cloud should be backed up. And Microsoft says the same thing. Dropbox, terms of service, say the exact same thing. It's make sure that you have a copy. So that data that you have synchronized in the cloud, we want to make sure that data is backed up somewhere that stores it. So if you do delete something from the cloud instance, it's not gone forever, past that 30-day time period. So the terms of service like that most Microsoft or Box.com, they'll tell you, they'll market it as a backup, but they'll tell you in the terms of service, make sure it's backed up somewhere else.
So last time we talked about security and passwords and so forth. And thank you again. I've literally told everyone about that little cheat code of just putting the 2 letters at the end. I think I've literally told everyone, and people are sick and tired of me listening to this. So thank you for that. That was awesome. So is there a connection between the two? Because I was thinking about that, because if you're not, you feel like you're secure. Same with, your passwords can get like literally like this. Is that how fast it can happen with this as well?
Exactly.
Like it's literally the same sort of idea. Like someone's going to hack your data and then done.
Yeah.
Like literally.
This is kind of the second layer of protection that we're talking about. We know we can lock the front door, make sure our passwords are secure.
Right.
Now, what happens if for some reason they get in?
Right.
And, but it's not cyber attacks necessarily that are the culprits. It's what happens if I delete something accidentally? Or what if my colleague deletes something accidentally?
Right.
Or, I open that phishing email and now there's crypto and, the ransomware is locked in. That ransomware that's on your computer gets synchronized back to the cloud. So you've got it on your computer, it's synchronized into OneDrive or SharePoint or whatever, Dropbox or Box.com.
Yeah.
And now that's all gone. And if you don't catch it within time, that 30-day retention policy or whatever you've set it to, that's gone.
Interesting.
So there are programs out there, Dropsuite, Cloudberry, Backblaze, just to name a couple, that are cloud providers of backup. So they will integrate directly into OneDrive or Dropbox, and they'll take those backups.
Got it.
And then they'll store them for however long you need, 7 years or whatever.
So it's interesting because I think, I think we can switch a little bit into focus into like what backing up really means. Because I think that to me, there's probably a misconception that because you're syncing with the cloud, you're not backing up.
Right.
Like I think a lot of people think that. I think that's probably the first thing from today you need to understand.
Yes.
Those are two separate things.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
And we say in IT, we say keep 3 copies of your data. Your live data, the backup, which is on site, and then backup to the cloud. So backing up to the cloud is not synchronizing to the cloud. We take the main live data, whether it's on your computer or synchronized into OneDrive, as your live data.
Got it.
So back that up someplace on site, preferably, or at least at the bare minimum, live data and a cloud backup off-site.
So when you're saying backing off-site, are you backing up on a piece of hardware? Like, is that the idea?
There are a couple different things there. We use a program called Cove. Cove is a program that's used by a lot of MSPs or managed service providers.
Right.
It's meant for us that we can then resell or provide to our customers or our partners, we call them.
Yeah.
That data, that backup solution can back up to what's called the Speed Vault, something that's local. And it also pushes that same data up into the cloud. And that data, we say, should be sovereign. So sovereign meaning it's in Canada.
Canada, okay.
Cove's data is backed up to both Vancouver and in Toronto, so we're geographically secure as well. Yeah. So that's the minimum, as we say, back up your servers, your laptops, your computers.
Right.
And there's various levels of that backup. We have a product that we put on a lot of CEOs' computers because if they go, say, in the lake and they drop their laptop and it goes for a drink in the lake, that's not coming back. Okay. We can restore your computer exactly the way it was when that backup was taken. So programs, registry entries, files, documents, emails, everything comes back.
So how often is this being backed up? Like, what do you recommend? Is it literally like almost live that's being backed up in real time-ish? Is that the idea?
The cloud providers still backing up from OneDrive, that usually happens every time a file changes. Okay. So it grabs a snapshot of that file that changed. Okay. It all depends on the company's requirements.
Sure, that's fair.
Where, is data changing all the time?
Right.
Then we'll take it up maybe twice a day or 3 times a day. Right. Is data only changing, say, once a day? Then we'll do it once a day.
Got it.
Generally speaking, we say once a day is kind of that minimum requirement.
Okay.
Twice a day is better.
Right.
But it also depends on the company.
Sure.
If they're accessing that server and it's really being utilized a lot, maybe taking that backup causes business interruptions, which we don't want. So now we have to schedule it for after hours. Maybe during a lunchtime or something like that. Right. We work with our customers or partners to formulate that plan. what's the best,
Right.
and what data do we need to have backed up? What data is really important or critical to the business that they cannot go without versus what's nice to have, right?
Interesting. So, I mean, when you're working with a partner, your first step is doing that, I'll call it an assessment to see what the needs are before you're, then you decide from there what's best for them, because everyone's going to be different.
Yeah.
Right.
Backup, disaster recovery, those two things kind of work hand in hand. Okay. And then there's business continuity, which we also talk about. And backing up is part of this whole process. It's part of the things that we talk about when we start working with a partner.
Interesting. So what makes a good backup solution then? Like how? And I'm sure it's funny. I was thinking a lawyer. You ask a lawyer what makes a good contract. Everyone's going to have an opinion on it. So, but from your perspective, you've done this long enough. Like, what are some of the things that you look for? You guys are working with Cove. There's a reason you made that decision. Yes. So, what makes it a solid product for what you guys do with your partners?
We chose Cove because it's fast, it's secure, it's reliable. When we're suggesting a backup solution for a client or a partner, and I say client meaning like my parents, very different needs, but they also need a backup solution. Yeah. And something like Backblaze might work for them, where all they need is a specific folder, a couple folders that are backed up to offsite. Sure. With a partner or a company that we work with, Cove is one of those solutions that is not generally available to the public.
The general public.
You buy it through an MSP or a partner, and it's secure, it's fast, it's automatic. It sends out alerts so we know. Our technicians check backups every day, every morning, to make sure that the previous one ran last night, and if it didn't, why? Our files left open or whatever the case is. So it needs to be automatic. It needs to be scheduled. It needs to be secure, meaning your data at rest, wherever that data is backed up, needs to be encrypted. So if for some reason, knock on wood, we don't have it here, but knock on wood, if that company or that data center gets breached, your data is not exposed. Right. And it's sovereign, meaning it's not going off into some other country. It's safe here.
Interesting. So, I mean, I think back to we talked about the cloud, but I'm curious, like a lot of us use Google Drive. I mean, that would be the same thing because Google Drive isn't necessarily backup. It's just interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. And any of those cloud providers will tell you in the terms of service, that's that big long thing that we never read.
Yeah, we just say
yes. Yeah. That they are not, they cannot be liable for data loss or for if the service is not available, like we've seen in the past little while here, where Azure has been offline a little bit. Yeah. They're not liable for any data that's lost during those outages. Right. And we've seen that in the past too, where a cloud sync like OneDrive will go offline for various reasons. And now your data is not being stored in the cloud. So now what? That synchronization maybe missed a couple files or has been off for a couple days. The data that you changed within that time frame hasn't been synchronized. So that's where your computer should be backed up. Right. So all of these problems or opportunities, they're opportunities for a good backup solution. Interesting. And a partner like NextGen or Innovate will go through this with you to discover, where are the gaps, what needs to be changed, and making sure that your data is safe because it is, data is money. Yeah. We also talked a little bit about why we chose Cove. The speed of recovery is also really important when choosing a provider, because sometimes you'll pick a backup solution that's great for pushing data out, but it's really slow to get that data back.
So if there's a disaster or something happens, you're waiting to get your information back. Yeah. Interesting.
And that's where we talk about disaster recovery.
Right.
Like how do we, if something catastrophic happens, fire, flood, theft, whatever, how soon can we get your business back up and running after that disaster? Right. So there's RTO, so there's recovery time. There's RPO, there's recovery points, like back, how many days back do we need to go? And how fast can we get your company back up and running? So that's where things like a speed vault or that on-site backup is really important. If it's not encrypted or, sorry, not encrypted. If it's not like held up by ransomware, because if it's on your network, it's susceptible to that.
Right.
How soon can we get you back? That's really important.
So do you guys, I think as people are listening to this, for me, that what comes to mind from a business is, we don't know. We think that, we're fine because we're on cloud or Google Drive, whatever, and not. And then the second part is like you're saying about if something does happen, I think that what partners need to understand or customers need to understand is that you guys are helping as well, right? You're not leaving going, well, too bad. Like, so you have a team that can get us back up running without delay. Because like you said, depending on the business you're in, like if you can't access your data, you're losing revenue, you're losing time, like clients' information. Like there's so much, I would think, cascades from that, right?
Yeah.
So,
yeah, and depending on the partner, right?
Yeah.
You picture a lawyer, an accountant, or something that changes a lot.
Yeah.
If something happens to that data, that not only affects the customer, the partner, it affects their clients.
Right.
So we need to make sure that we're doing our due diligence, keeping our partners safe.
Right.
And that means having those backups in place, making sure that we're checking them and testing.
Right.
So having a backup is good. Making sure that the data that's backed up is recoverable is a whole nother thing.
Interesting.
So we want to make sure that, yes, it did happen. And this can all be automated. There's programs like Cove that we utilize that automatically tests it.
Right, so you get a dashboard or notification if there's an issue?
Yes.
Right, okay.
Yeah. Even in the case of bare metal, like when you say bare metal, we're backing up a server to its complete state.
Got it.
Cove will actually start that server up in the cloud in that backup environment and take a screenshot of the login screen to prove that the data that we backed up last night is retrievable. And if something happens, we can spin up that server in the cloud and give it back to the customer and say, while we restore your on-premise server, you can use this data.
And you can be, as you're talking about the CEO that's out on the boat, but let's say if you're someone that travels, even if something happens when you're away, you can still access that information. Like, so you're not like, I got to wait to get back to the office, like, because you'll be able to access it from everywhere anyway. So interesting.
Yeah, we can restore bits and pieces or the entire thing, and it's complete.
Yeah. So what's the, like, when you, and probably the easy answer is if you haven't done, you got to do it. But like, what's the first time you walk into a company and you're like you're overdue for a backup review? Like, how do you, what's the first thing you sort of look for? Is it like very similar to last time we were talking about passwords? I think everyone should go through that exercise. Like, I don't think there's one person that can say, we're really good, because you're probably not, right? So is it the same when it comes to this sort of stuff? Like, really, unless you're working with a provider like you guys, because, but really, right? Because if you are, you hope that you're, it's done. But if you're not, everyone should probably have a look at this.
Absolutely. Yeah. The biggest thing that I tell my clients is don't assume it's done. Trust but verify. Right.
Interesting.
We want to make sure, and that's the first thing we do when we onboard a partner is we go through backing up, make sure that your data is safe right now, the way it is right now. Then we'll start fixing other things as we move forward.
Interesting.
But making sure that snapshot, keeping track of your money, your data, back that up first, and then let's figure out what that looks like going forward. Do we have to back it up every week, every day, twice a day?
Right.
What do we need to back up? But at a bare minimum, we make sure that your data is safe at day one when you become a partner of NextGen.
So you must run into, though, a lot of the business owners that think like, well, this won't happen to us. No different than last time we were talking about. So how do you deal with that? Like, how do you, because I'm sure you've come across that a lot in your career. Like, how do you deal with the guy that's like, or the girl that's like, nah, we're good. It's not gonna happen to us.
Yeah, we get that a lot, actually. There are documents that you need to sign to say NextGen Innovate is not
fair enough.
And we don't want to be that. We don't want to be the Microsofts or the Dropboxes that say we're not liable. We want to bring it to your attention. Let you make the decision as the partner to say, yes, we do want this backed up, or no, we don't. And if you don't, we will then say, A, why? and B, it's not a good idea at all. Some companies will rely on their existing backup solutions, the ones that they've been using for the last 10 years. Tape drives, you go back to that. Well, those tape drives wear out and they will fail. And who's checking them? Or, you know what, Kendall, it's fine. We back up to this little USB drive and we take one home every night. Okay. Sure, it's a solution.
Yeah.
But it's not the best solution. It's not automatic. It's not automatic.
Yeah. Well, and something could happen.
It's not secure and it's not safe.
Yeah.
So we say use the solutions that we have. It's not that expensive.
I was going to say, that was sort of my next question. Like, when people are maybe thinking, listening, going, oh, like, how do I work this into my budget and strategy? Like, are we talking? And I know everyone's probably different, so it's hard to like, but is it not a big lift from a financial perspective?
It's not. It's not. I mean, current state right now, to back up an entire server costs about $100 a month.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And that $100 a month will back it up for 7 years. So that's a lot of data.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And when you think about it, bringing that data back, it's insurance, and we all purchase insurance for our cars, and house insurance and all that. It's making sure that your data, your money, is safe.
Yeah.
So, and there's backing up your OneDrives. Cove does that for you too.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
There are other solutions out there that'll do the same thing.
Right.
But you need to make sure that your online data is stored, safe, backed up, and your local data is safe, stored, backed up.
Right. Well, and I think that to me that, and let's just use $100 for discussion's sake, is that I always see that as, that shouldn't be seen as a cost. It should be seen as an investment.
Yes.
Like, to me, that's how I look at it, because it's because think about, and you can talk about this, what's the cost comparison of a good backup system or dealing with you just lost all your information?
Yeah.
Right? That $100 is a good investment.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah.
You talk about like what we discussed last month, which was the, in case of ransomware.
Right.
You're paying, they'll ask for easy $10 million. You might pay $1 million, or insurance will pay $1 million.
Yeah.
But backing that up costs you what, $1,000 for the year?
Yeah.
And you're safe. If it gets ransomed for whatever reason, you don't have to worry about that.
For sure.
You just restore from last night.
Yeah.
Easy.
Yeah.
And we can do that. It's not that difficult for us.
Well, even just the time that must go into it if you're not properly backed up. Like, I get loss of business, stress. There's all these things that add up. It's not just always financial. I mean, that's a big part of it, obviously, but you still got to run your business. And then you got your client data you're thinking about. Is it secure? Is it not? Like, so there's a lot to think about on that.
There is, The time to recover is with a good proper backup is depending on how much data you bring back.
Right, sure, fair enough.
But within a day, we can have everything back up.
Wow, okay.
So with the proper disaster recovery, where we're storing, spare laptops or a spare server for you as well, we can get you back up to the exact way that you were last night within almost a day.
Interesting. Yeah. Interesting. So if businesses are listening today, like if I'm a small, medium-sized business and maybe that doesn't have, a lot of us, won't have IT departments, right? So what's a realistic sort of first step for someone like that? That's let's say a medium-sized business, pretty typical in this region, still has a lot of data they got to worry about. What's the first step they should be taking?
Yeah, I'd say contact us. That's the first thing.
Done. We're done. Thanks for listening.
See you next month. No, honestly, contact us and let us walk through that disaster plan with you and walk through what data is critical.
Right.
Where are you storing it? Because sometimes people don't even know where their data is.
Right. So do a little bit of an assessment.
Yeah, the assessment. And the assessment is free. Right now, you call NextGen or Innovate, we'll do the assessment for free and help you figure out what those points are, and then formulate a plan or a package for us to manage the IT for you that meets your needs. And every company is different. Right? A lawyer or an accounting firm will have very different needs than, say, a flooring company or a media group. Or we all have different needs, and their data. Some of it's stored in the cloud, some of it's on our computers, some of it's in servers. Amalgamate that data to a central location, a single source of truth, and then make that so that's backed up.
Interesting. Okay. So what advice do you give a business that's maybe, thinking about backups, but unsure where to start other than give you guys a call? But is there anything they can do? Is there something they can do starting today? Like I loved even your little tidbit of last time putting the 2 letters at the end of a password. Is there anything that they can start doing that kind of helps the process a little bit? So,
I'd say the first step, if you're not sure,
yeah.
A is don't assume. Don't assume your data is backed up. Check it, and check your retention policies within OneDrive, SharePoint, Google, whatever that is, and then make sure that it's safe. So pick a backup solution that is sovereign in Canada.
Right.
Pick a backup solution that you can automate, and and we can help with that. So suggesting either Cove or one of the other ones that I mentioned earlier in the video.
So is that a big? Essentially, you mentioned sovereign a few times. Is that a big issue that clients should be worried about? Like more than maybe we don't think?
Yeah. Well, it depends on the industry as well.
Okay.
There's a Patriot Act that makes mention of any data. There's a Patriot Act that makes mention of data that goes across the border into the States or outside of Canada. That means that other entities, legal entities, have access to that data if it's not encrypted during transit.
Interesting.
So we say make sure your OneDrive, your Microsoft tenant is in Canada, in Canadian data centers. Make sure your backups are within Canadian data centers. Right. Just so that you're not opening your data up to other legal entities having access to it potentially.
So how, like from a client perspective, how do you know that? Is it reading the small print? Is it? Oh, interesting.
And that's exactly why you hire professionals like NextGen Innovate. Right. We read through that whole terms of service that we normally skip to make sure that your data is here in Canada. And that's why we chose a partner like Cove, where your data is stored in data centers in Vancouver, in the Lower Mainland, and in Toronto. It's geographically safe.
Is there like for you guys? How long have you worked with Cove? How long have you guys been a partner?
We've been partners. I've been partners with Cove since I started my
my
IT industry
for a long time. Then okay. So how did they support even from your perspective? Like, because I think I would assume things change, right? Like AI, we've talked about before we're going on. Like all these things are changing. Are you constantly working with them? Upgrading, for lack of a better word, understanding where all the different threats might come from, any of that sort of stuff as well. Yeah,
well, so depending on what happens to the data that we're trying to back up. Like let's choose a server here in this building. Right? Yeah. If it's fire, theft, ransomware, or anything like that, the data is safe in Cove.
Right. Okay.
But yes, the ability for Cove to back up. Your initial backup is everything, so it takes a little bit longer. Okay. But after that, it uses AI to figure out what data has changed since its last backup, and only backs up what's happened within that time frame. So your first backup might take a long time, but subsequent backups are very, very quick. We're talking 10, 15, 20 minutes.
Interesting.
And if we're backing up only initial files or specific files, we can back those up really quickly.
Really quickly if you have to.
If you're backing it or recovering the entire server, it could take 4 to 6 hours, depending on the amount of data.
Interesting. I should have asked this earlier. I'm curious, like when you go work with a new partner, a new customer, say the first time you go, how long is that initial assessment with them? Like what does that process kind of look like if someone's listening going, oh great, I've got to commit like 3 days of my life. But like, I'm being facetious, but what does that look like from your guys' perspective?
The initial onboard that we do when we work with a partner, because we're talking about a lot of things, not just backups,
just one part,
or passwords, or generally speaking, the first introduction of that assessment usually takes about 4 hours.
Okay.
Half a day. Where we're asking questions, we have a list that we go through. Where we're asking questions, and if the partner can't answer it off the cuff, we'll figure it out, or dig in a bit deeper.
And you guys have done this long enough. You probably know when you hear things, right?
Yeah. And then cover those major issues right off the bat, like backups, passwords. You're not using all the same passwords.
No. Right. Yeah. Interesting. So is there? What's one, I thought we can maybe kind of end with this, or if there's any other areas that maybe we didn't touch on, we will. But what's one habit every business should start this week, today, to better protect themselves? What would be the one little nugget that, like the 2 letters at the end of password, that you would give people today that they can start protecting their data better?
as it relates to backups,
Yeah.
I would say the first thing you should do is just make sure you have one.
Okay.
Make sure you have one.
Okay.
There's lots of pieces of software out there that provide free trials. And I use Backblaze or Cloudberry or Dropsuite. Those are some of the names that are readily available for any person.
Right.
If you're looking for something that's really, really good, and you know is fast, secure, and sovereign, and reliable, call NextGen and get Cove.
Yeah. Okay.
It's one of those solutions that will it gives you peace of mind. It gives us peace of mind.
Yeah.
It lets me sleep at night knowing that all our partners are on the solutions that we chose, and that the data is safe.
Well, and to me, this is like, from a business owner, it really is. I don't think it's non-negotiable. Like, I think it's such an important part of your business and your clients. So our clients, right? So it's just an important part of it. And like I said, it needs to be seen as an investment. Like, it has to, not an expense, because and it needs to be built into your annual budget. And if it's, and I know we kind of throw around the $100, and we're not going to hold anybody to that.
Oh, please don't. Subject to change.
But it's not we're not talking a massive lift in order to get
right.
That, so
yes.
So Ken, is there anything maybe we didn't cover that we want to leave with? Is there anything that maybe make sure that we've checked all the check marks before we...
You know what? I mean, we talked about backups a lot.
Yeah.
We didn't really talk about business continuity, which is part of that backup solutions. We can maybe touch on that in another episode.
No, but I'd love to chat about that.
But business continuity is another piece that we should talk about when it comes to what happens when that, or if that disaster happens.
Yeah.
How do we get your business back up and running as fast as we can without a whole lot of business interruption?
Right.
But I think if I was to leave the segment on one note, is don't assume your data is backed up.
Right.
You need to know. And in order to know, you probably have to dig into what your terms of services are. So reading that fine print. And also, if you don't know, contact NextGen or Innovate, because we're here to help.
Interesting. Well, and I think for me, one of the biggest takeaways is because it's in the cloud doesn't mean it's backed up.
Yes.
And I think there's a misnomer that most people think that, well, no, we're backed up, we're in the cloud. I can just because you can access it from here doesn't mean that it's backed up.
Yeah,
right?
that's a huge, and it's upsetting to IT professionals like myself because that's the way it's marketed.
Sure.
And when you talk about this, I mean, you said it once, I said it a couple times, oh, it's okay, we're backed up to OneDrive.
Yeah.
And when you turn OneDrive on, it's that one of the first steps that it goes through. It says, do you want to back up your desktop and your documents to OneDrive? And you say, yes. Sure. And that's a great thing. And you think, great, I'm safe.
Yeah.
But you're not. And Microsoft's terms of service, I'll just read it for you because it's in their terms of service. Section 6B says service availability. In the event of an outage, you may not be able to retrieve your content or data that you've stored. We recommend that you regularly back up your content and data that you store on their services or store using third-party apps and services. So Microsoft is saying that in plain black and white, your data is not secure and backed up. Make sure you're doing it somewhere else. It's up to you. So don't assume.
Well, and I think that most people just click the button and move on. They just do, right? And, and it's just not negligence. Is that you're busy, you assume. Like you just said, the thing is, let's not assume this stuff. So, but Kendall, thank you for chatting again. I think there's such valuable information from a business perspective on here that, to me, you need to take this seriously. You really do. And I always say, like, what should businesses do? I'm always been one about you hire the professional. Like, I think in a business, you always hire the professional. So you guys are, like, reach out to NextGen, Innovate. You can come in. It's amazing. You do free assessments. Like, at the very least, get that free assessment and then you can put a plan together from that, right? So make sure that you're protected, though. Like I said, this is investment in your business, not just expense on it. So,
exactly.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Kendall. Thanks for chatting again.
Thanks for having me.
We're back next month. Everyone else, thank you for joining us again on Tech Talk, brought to you by NextGen Automation, Innovate Digital Solutions. We do recommend, like I do, please reach out to Kendall and his team and see if they can at least have a chat with it. So everyone have a great day and see you next time on Tech Talk. Thanks, everyone. Bye.